Howdy team, happy Thursday. Hope y'all are having a great day. I wanted to show you the carpet that our students helped lay this week. It was really, really great. Several of them spent a whole bunch of hours up here doing the bridge over to the main building. They did a great job. Just wanted y'all to see that. I also wanted y'all to see the work on Excel Learning downstairs is almost done. There is one little section of the wall that needs to be finished there. The glass company's coming in next week. But we have 5 classrooms that are finished. There's TVs in them. They're just a really, really nice area. They're not just for us, but we get access to them on Sunday mornings. And so if y'all want to start fighting over who gets a classroom, by all means, go ahead and do that. But anyway, Excel's happening. It's happening quick. So y'all keep praying for that. And then encourage your students to come on Monday. We are going to spend all day long finishing downstairs, finishing the bridge. I know it sounds self-serving. Kate and I and Sandra and David Bayette's office, and then Katrina and Kristen's office. We got to get all that done before Excel can open. And so we want an army of students to come give us a hand. So y'all encourage that. And they're going to make lots, and I really do mean lots of money for camps or DNOW or whatever else we do in the fall. So anyway, spur them on with me. We want to talk about Luke 17, verses 7 through 19 this week. Luke covers lots of stories and passages that the other gospel writers don't, which is why it's such a cool book, and the fact that Luke was a historian. And so he's very meticulous. The dates all line up really, really well. It's just good. This particular portion we're going to look at is something that Luke talks about that nobody else does. What I taught the students last night, I actually did Matthew 18 last night, so I know we're stepping backwards, but in this instance it'll work. Again, stuff that only Luke talks about. But I wanted y'all to cover this particular subject, and it's about gratitude. I suspect that all of you realize our teenagers are not always so good at saying thank you. Not that we're perfect. I certainly know that I have failed on more than one occasion on this. But it really does burden me sometimes at how little I hear those words from our kids, obviously towards me, but also how little I hear it from our kids towards y'all, and then other areas, even when they're on the phone with their parents. It's something that we've got to work on, and this particular passage is really powerful to convey that point. But I like the setup that Jesus does. So it starts off in verse 7. Again, nobody else talks about this particular scenario, but Jesus is telling the disciples this story and making this point on the way to Samaria. Remember, Samaria is the place that Jews don't want any part of. It's where all the half-breed Jews got sent, and in this case, it's where a bunch of lepers lived on top of that. We'll talk about that more in a second. But verse 7 through 9, Jesus is telling this story, and he says, hey, when a servant comes in from plowing or taking care of his sheep, the master doesn't say to him, man, you've been working hard. Why don't you just sit down and eat supper with me? He says to the servant, okay, now it's time to make me supper. And then after I'm finished eating, then you can eat. And then it says, and by the way, hey, when you're done, the master doesn't say thank you to the servant, does he? And the guys are like, no, that doesn't happen. He says, right. He said, that's how you need to treat serving me. It really is. It's your duty. It's an opportunity. This is your role in life. Now that feels really harsh and kind of gnarly and even a little bit dirty. And I suspect some of the students, when they hear this on Sunday, they're like, man, Jesus, that's kind of mean. But I would say, for starters, remind them it's good for us to remember our role. And then this really is, remember, this is the setup, because we're going to contrast this with the next story. Because watch what happens. Jesus heals the 10 lepers. Again, they find this group of lepers. They says it's right in between Samaria and Galilee. So the Galilean lepers are there and the Samaritan leper. So these really are the outcast of the outcast. Jesus goes straight to them. He meets them and he heals them and he sends them on their way. He says, hey, go show yourself to the priests and show them that you've been healed. And y'all know how the story ends. Only one of the 10 returned to Jesus to say thank you. Now, it is important because one of your students is going to ask this, because Jesus actually says, hey, you've been healed, go on. Somebody's going to ask, does that mean that the other lepers lost their healing? And the answer is no. God's not an Indian giver. I'm quite sure, just because of who he is, that the Lord allowed the other ones to be healed. But this story gets told because it's a powerful example of how little that we say thank you. And the point is the comparison and the contrasting. Because remember that first little section? It was about servants remembering their place, and remembering that we're here to serve the Lord and not the other way around. But so often we get it twisted to where we don't say thank you to God for stuff because we just kind of, well, God, that's kind of your job. Like, you said that you're going to feed me, and you said you're going to take care of me. And we treat our parents this way too. Like, it's just your job. I shouldn't have to say thank you. And that's not the way that it's supposed to work. We do constantly, at least we constantly should be expressing our thankfulness to Jesus for what he's done for us, both with our salvation and our physical lives and everything that's going on around us. And this is important too, and for the opportunity to serve him. Because truthfully, we don't have, that's not a right of ours. It really is a high privilege to get to serve the King, and he lets us do that. So talk about gratitude Sunday morning. I think that's going to be important. Guys, I love you. I am incredibly thankful for what you do for our church and for the students and for being part of my life. We'll see you soon. Bye.